Welcome to episode 151 of the Left Behind Game Club. This week we play John Wick Hex. Let's get right into it.
You're listening to the Left Behind Game Club.
Welcome to the Left Behind Game Club, our never-ending attempt to make sure that no game is left behind. I'm your host, Katie Lesbrance, and today I have two friends with me. The first one, you know him, you love him, the one, the only, Sir Jacob McCourt.
I'm a sir now. I've been knighted by Troy Baker himself. Hi, I'm here to talk about a video game. Let's go.
Very good. And the second friend, you also know him, you also love him. He's making his triumphant return for his 17th show.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Mr.
many.
Travis Colenutt.
Hello. I have not been knighted.
Do you want to be?
No, I'm okay.
We can fix that today.
Oh, on the air, I get knighted right now.
I'm going to call Troy Baker right now.
Let's get it done. Okay, and today we are talking about the game John Wick Hex. It was developed by Bithell Games, the studio who made Thomas Was Alone, Subsurface Circular. They've really focused in on the short, condensed little indie game. It was published by Good Shepherd Entertainment, put out on macOS, Windows, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. Originally released October 8th, 2019. And first, we're going to start off with the fast pitch. It is a one-sentence description of the game that we're going to talk about. Who wants to start?
I can try if you want.
Yeah.
Okay. So, think super hot, but make it strategy. Like action strategy. It's
okay.
It's super hot.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Jacob, how about you?
What if Keanu Reeves' Kung Fu made love to XCOM? or even better, what if Keanu Reeves was a character in XCOM?
Ooh, I like that.
Oh.
I might put Keanu Reeves and all of his characters into my next XCOM team. That might be my plan. Fast pitch. I did not prepare this. Let's say...
Doing a good job being a host.
Oh,
I never prepare it.
Killing it. Yeah, this is the role. Let's say a stiff, janky, but oddly enjoyable romp through strategy game goodness.
Love
Well
it. Love it.
You prep everything else so that comes out that well.
So that the fast pitch ends up like that.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So next, we're going to go into the time capsule first. In this section of the show, we talk about the zeitgeist around the game's original release, what was coming out around it, what was going on at the time. To be honest, there wasn't a whole lot. It kind of got released in that little lull before the holiday season starts. Same day, you've got Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair by Playtonic. Jacob is nodding. Big ukulele fan over here.
That's a video game.
It's a
I'm
video
not
game.
even sure what that is.
It's like in the mold of Banjo-Kazooie. It's like, what if
Okay.
Banjo-Kazooie was made by like a modern team? I think it's actually a lot of ex-Rare people that founded Playtonic.
Gotcha.
That's the story.
Also, same day, Concrete Genie, the second game by Pixelopus, kind of a big deal for them. The rest of the week, not a lot. Ghost Recon Breakpoint didn't do very well. And like I said, we're just waiting for holiday releases. Outer Worlds came out that year. Death Stranding came out that year. But at this time, we are sitting around and waiting. First, before we dive into the game, I want to know, what is your experience with strategy games, first of all? We'll start. I'll start. I like a good strategy game. I like, XCOM 2, we already talked about. Love XCOM 2. Love a good tactics game. Final Fantasy Tactics back in the day. And I love a real-time strategy game. Love me some StarCraft, some Warcraft. Your Age of Empires, all that good stuff.
Oh,
How about, right? Good game. Jacob, how about you?
I think similar to you, where like I love a game like Intelligent Systems is one of my favorite developers. Like I will play a Fire Emblem or an Advance Wars game every time, which made me very sad that Advance Wars 1+2 still no release date. Maybe when you're listening to this, if it's a while after, that game will have come out and it's very good. So yeah, Fire Emblem's probably like one of my favorite series. We played Into the Breach, Travis, me, and Mike on a show recently. So I'm all about those tactic style games. XCOM 2, fantastic. And then similar to you, like RTSs, I occasionally play. I was a big Age of Empires guy. I could probably still remember the cheat codes to get a car in Age of Empires 1.
I'm sorry, what?
You can get like a convertible in Age of Empires 1 that just decimates everything in your way. It's a cheat code. I'll tell you about it later.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
Okay.
Travis, I have a feeling I know where your answer is going to go, but tell us, do you have any experience with strategy games?
I love them so much. I think I already kind of went on a tangent on the Into the Breach episode about how much I love these types of games. Like Into the Breach is top tier for me. This is a very different type of game compared to like a typical like tacticsy kind of game, I find. But this is just in my wheelhouse of types of games that I want to play. And when you guys are like, hey, do you want to play this? I'm like, yeah. Never heard of it. Yeah.
Okay. So you like strategy games.
Yes.
How about John Wick? Do you know anything about John Wick before coming into this game?
I've seen the first movie, but I never got around to watching the other ones. I meant to. I knew, like, John Wick is just, like, so ingrained in just, like...
Culture.
Like, pop culture. Like, you just know what that is, right? But, like, I've seen the first movie, but I never ended up watching the other ones, so...
I think I'm the same, where, like, I've seen the first two movies. I think there's a third one. They're good movies, but they're not a movie that I'm like, oh, it's not like me and Taken, where I'm like, the original Taken is one of the greatest action movies ever made. It's like a perfect 84 minutes or whatever it is. Like John Wick's, good movie. Very sad when the dog dies, but it's not really something.
Spoilers.
It's fine. It's fine. It's not the IP that I'd go to and let's make a strategy game. But like Mike Bithell's super smart, so I get it.
Yeah, I hear that. Kind of the same. You know about John Wick. Like, I knew what it was. I knew it's a fast-paced action movie. I had never seen one, so I did my due diligence before playing this game, and I'm like, I have to watch one John Wick movie.
Wow.
Right. Watched the first one before I started playing.
That's
very enjoyable.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. Just like popcorn, happy, throw some crazy stuff at me, and let's see what happens. Yeah, really enjoyed it. I will get around to watching the other two in sometime in the near future.
Is there a fourth coming?
I think so.
There's
Yeah,
a
they've
fourth.
announced a fourth.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but currently
they're
there
creating
are 3.
an intellectual property universe, so I'm sure there's an anime coming. I'm sure
Like
there's
every
more video
single
games.
other company in this world.
They're like, this is successful? It print money? Okay.
And then in an unexpected turn, it got made into a thought-out strategy game. Well, a strategy game that you have to think through your movements, which is kind of not what you would expect. You hear, oh, they're making a John Wick game. You kind of think first-person shooter, which there's a billion first-person shooters. Like, what differentiates one? Which is kind of the thing that made me go like, oh, that's interesting that Bithell Games took it and kind of put a different spin on, like, how do we adapt this movie into a video game and have it be something different and be a little bit original and stand out from what it could have been.
It's funny you mention that because I don't know if y'all knew that there was a Payday 2 expansion or like little event where you could play as John Wick in Payday 2.
Oh, interesting.
I did not.
Oh, that's funny.
So he has had a weird first-person shooter thing, but I guess this is like his first real game.
But that's the logical choice, right? Like the logical choice is first-person shooter, and this is an interesting twist on like those licensed type of games. You don't see this. This is not the type of game that you see for a licensed game in any way. Like you just don't see it.
Yeah, it feels risky in just the lane that they took it in, even though it's not a super high budget game. Like it's not like they broke the bank on this, but still, like John Wick, the people who make John Wick handed it over to this developer to make a different kind of game, and
Right.
I like it. It's a creative choice.
I feel
Yes.
like someone got drunk at E3 and just like made this pitch like on a whim, and then an executive at Lionsgate was like, that's a really good pitch. Make the game. Just go do it.
Bithell charmed some folks for sure. How did we all play, Jacob?
I played on PS4. It is on the PlayStation Plus Essentials tier of PlayStation. So if you're interested in playing, that's probably the most accessible way to play it.
The freest.
Yeah, freest.
Travis.
I tried playing it on Steam Deck also, but it does not support Steam Deck at all. So if you have a Steam Deck and you want to play this game, try it on Switch. That might change by the time this comes out. Sorry, Travis.
No, I played it on Switch. Because I opted to. Well, at the time, I've mentioned this like 3 times now, but like new dad, and it's easy to pick up the Switch and just like put it down as opposed to like setting up the TV or whatever. So the Switch was like the obvious choice for me. I'll talk a little bit more about like how I think that worked in terms of the Switch. I have some comments about that later, but yeah, the Switch is what I did. So I'm curious to see if you guys had same issues that I might have had. So
We actually played on 3 different platforms.
Oh,
I
fun.
played on PC.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because that's just kind of how I prefer to play strategy games personally. And so yeah, I played on PC. Worked pretty well.
Travis, I bet you and I have the same complaints because
Oh,
I feel like, do you want to just rip into it?
I'm fine
Yeah,
with that,
absolutely.
I feel like this game, to control it on a control stick, was a little tough at times. And it was due to like the hexagonal design of the way the tiles went, that sometimes it would take you 1 or 2 times to like use your control stick or your D-pad to get your John Wick to go where you needed him to go.
Yeah, like I could see point and clicking being so much
Yep.
simpler than this. It's not like there was touch. I don't recall there being touch screen stuff, but I don't think I even attempted to touch the screen to see if it would work. But I don't know if I would like that either.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the control stick is a little difficult to maneuver. I just don't know if the Switch was capable of like playing this game well enough. Like I had some crashes that like made me restart levels a few times, which was quite annoying. And then I think just the resolution on the handheld screen made it difficult for me to determine what was happening on the screen at times. When I look at like screenshots online, I'm like, that looks nice. And like I can make out what's happening on the screen, and I just feel like what I played felt very muddled and difficult to figure out who was what, and like anything that wasn't within my line of sight just felt very grayed out. And maybe I should have changed the brightness or contrast settings on my Switch, but I felt like I couldn't get all the information that I needed to have at times. And I didn't even try, honestly, playing it on like not on handheld and playing it on the screen instead. But I'd wonder if I were to attempt that, if it'd be different.
It sounds like, maybe, and Katie, correct us if we're wrong here, but it sounds like PC might be the ideal way to play. Because I don't think I had the issues that you had with like graphical fidelity, but I did have some weird glitches with the game, and it was more just like John Wick like kind of glitched out at certain points, or like enemies literally like their limbs were just like going all over the place.
Jank in this game.
Yeah, there was some jank.
I loved it though. I loved the jank.
Yeah.
Like it's obviously not intentional, but the jank was really fun.
This is like PS2 jank.
Yeah, like there's
Yeah.
some real good jank in this game.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Was the PC version like this as well?
I didn't have I had no crashes. I didn't have any issues with how it ran. Yeah, I felt like I could move around the screen and see, what I needed to see. You kind of control your camera with like the WASD keys, and the overall PC experience I had no issues with whatsoever. So yeah, no, I could see it definitely being tricky with controller. So we've kind of hinted at what this game is.
Mm-hmm.
Can one of you kind of flesh out what is John Wick Hex? The general vibe here.
I can try to parse it together. It's a grid. It's like hexagonal grid, and you're looking from the top down. And it is turn-based in that you make you kind of, interesting because you don't really take turns with the enemy. The enemy moves at the same time as you, and they move along a timeline. And you get to see how long every action you have takes versus what an enemy takes. And you can interrupt their actions. You can, cut them off. But essentially, you're playing with the timeline at the top of the screen to make sure that your actions stop whatever the enemy is doing. So it's not at a traditional like tactics game where you would have your turn, pause, and then they take their turn. But it is kind of like when I said with the fast pitch, it's like Super Hot in that when you're moving, the enemies are moving. And then once you've completed an action, right? Once you've completed an action, everything stops moving again. And you get your chance to assess the new area that you're at. So if you're walking from one location to another, enemies are moving, they're shooting at you, and you can see their actions play out along the timeline at the top of the screen. And essentially it's your job to get through the map or complete the objective. But like, let's say, shooting might take 0.4 of a second, but the enemy might be shooting at you and they're only going to take 0.2 of a second before they hit you. You need to make sure you're either dodging or this game plays a lot with line of sight, where there's like a fog of war going on, and if you hide behind a box, your vision is limited to whatever you see in front of you. And you can do a lot of ducking down, getting back up, ducking down, getting back up to like prevent people from shooting you, and it can kind of like play with the timeline a little bit so that you're preventing people from being able to complete their actions. But like something like, reloading or like bandaging yourself up can take a lot longer. And those actions, once you've initialized them, they happen. And if an enemy is moving and can complete an action in like whether or not they're melee attacking you or shooting you, that's going to happen in the time that it takes for you to reload. So you have to make sure that you're safe too. So it's an interesting twist on a tactics game that I've not really experienced before in any other game, where you're kind of making decisions based on if someone else is going to complete a task, like their turn, before you can complete your turn.
Yeah, that's definitely... I have things I like about this game, and I have some qualms that I'll get into later. But that is my favorite thing, just with how they chose to make this game. Because if you watch a John Wick movie, it's very like time sensitive, and a guy walks in and he shoots them and then whips around and shoots this other guy that walked in and then throwing something at somebody. And they tried to capture that kind of pace while still being kind of turn-based. And yeah, I don't think I've seen this way of doing a semi-turn-based strategy game before, where it's using the timeline and you have to strategize what actions you can complete in what time. And you can get yourself into a jam where you're like, oh, now I can't do anything. Like, I kind of screwed it up, and now this guy is going to shoot me before I can do anything to prevent it. But if you think it out properly, you can do everything right. And at first, I was trying to conserve ammo.
Right.
I was trying to like melee everyone, and then it was fine, but it wasn't going that well. And then I realized, oh no, there's guns everywhere. Because if you kill a guy with a gun, he drops that gun, and you have only so many bullets in your gun. So once your bullets are gone, like that gun's kind of useless, aside from as a projectile that you can throw at somebody to kind of knock them out. So I was like, oh, there's guns everywhere. Like there's tons of bullets to be had. And I realized that, oh no, I should be shooting more people. Whereas, for some reason I was hung up on like just conserving my ammo. I think I play that often with
most games where I'm like,
I need to keep all the ammo.
Like,
there's only so much. And no, like I start shooting everybody unless you're like just right close to somebody. But anyway, the timeline aspect was my favorite choice of just how they went about adapting this, for sure.
Yeah, I was super precious about my gun, like the gun that you get at the start of every level.
Yeah.
Imagine there's like, I don't know what the exact number is, but imagine that there's, 42 levels, and like they're split into, I think it's 6 or 7 different worlds. At the start of each world or different level, I guess, you would get your gun back. And I was just like, but I need to keep this gun because this is my gun.
John
Wick's gun.
Yeah. This is the good one.
This is the good one. And this game is ballet. And like I agree with you both that like the central conceit, or the very central mechanic of like movement and the like almost non-linear like editing timeline like that you would get in Audition or you would get in Adobe Premiere, like having that be up there with times was super cool, innovative, and the best part of this experience.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's interesting because it's an interesting adaptation from like a movie. Like Katie was saying, like the movie is very much, he's split second thinking, and he's got to determine shoot here, and you're pretty much put into the shoes of being John Wick, but you have ample time to make those split second decisions, and you're just trying to piece it all together, right? There was a review from Polygon that I really, really liked, and it pretty much like it said, you know, all those fight scenes in the John Wick movies are like choreographed scenes, and essentially this game makes you the choreographer. Like, you are determining how these moves kind of play out. And I thought that was like worded really well, because I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm determining how he's going to move, where he's going to go, but I'm taking my time with it to make sure that everything is this smooth, full process so that he can effectively decimate an entire room full of people.
Or you think it is in your mind, but really it's just you walking back and forth between two spaces while people shoot you.
Yeah, ducking up and down, ducking up and down. Yeah.
Which you see for yourself after you're like, man, that was so cool. I tore through that level and it was like so clean and like just smooth, and it was great. And at the end of each level, yeah, like you said, Jacob, there's like maybe 7 levels per bigger per
World
area.
Map area. Yeah.
And then at the end of each little level, you can like replay, you can watch a video of your run through that level. And you're like, the first time I thought this is going to be so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I hit play. I'm amazing. And I hit play and I watched myself like stiltily walk and then turn and then like punch. And
it was
then
like
turn.
Benny Hill.
Yeah, and yes, it was absolutely.
You're like running circles around a pillar,
ducking, standing up, ducking, standing up, ducking, picking up again. Yeah, and I was like, oh, I thought that would look cooler.
Yeah,
and it didn't.
I mean,
but that's okay.
It also, I find it to be the jankiest part of this game.
Yes,
is like,
it was kind of fun to watch.
It's
hilarious.
It's hilarious to watch. Yeah, it's silly, and he's not walking in a straight line because everything on the ground isn't a hex, so he's constantly zigzagging back and forth,
veering around like a drunken John Wick. Yeah,
and then like he's like, especially when you've punched someone and then you punch someone again. And then you punch someone again. And it's just like there's no variety in like the motion. So it can get really repetitive where I'm just like, this is ridiculous. And I desperately wanted to watch all of them because I think they're hilarious when I was watching them. But they were the cause of my crashes.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So it happened at least 3 times where I got through a level. I decide to watch the replay.
Oh, and then you have to
midway
restart?
through and I have to restart because the level doesn't save until after you watch the replay.
Or until you hit continue. Because you don't have to watch the replay. But until you say, like, go to the next stage.
Yes. So I had to replay 3 different things 3 different times. And I was just like, this is so dumb. And I really want to watch these janky, like, videos of me trying to maneuver my way through a thing. And they're so funny. But I ended up just starting to skip it near the end because I didn't want to risk replaying any levels, especially because there was quite a difficulty spike later on where I was like, I'm not replaying any levels. If I made it through, sorry, I'm not watching this replay anymore.
We'll get to the difficulty spike for sure.
Yeah.
You kind of touched on what my main issue with this game is that I wish that it was just expanded a little bit in terms of even just how you look when you're striking somebody, when you're doing like punch, I wish there was some variety in the move because it's one move. Yeah. Your takedown looks the same. There's like a takedown, a strike, a push, and a parry.
And there's a parry, yeah.
They're
and
all
it's the same sound effect. It's very, it's
and I
like,
really wish that had a little bit of variety. And then something else that I wish was in it is just a little bit more variety. I wish they had like sprinkled in some like items that you could pick up and throw or something.
Right.
Because I feel like that would have just made it a lot more, not chaotic, but like it would have just added a lot more variety and added a lot more options.
Right.
Whereas I'm just kind of like using my sight lines, trying to shoot. If they get super close, I melee them. And I, for the most part, enjoyed it. But yeah, I just wish that there was like a little bit more there that they had expanded upon.
What I love though, and I want to give the game like its flowers because it's like an A+. The core of the game is such an A+.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like John Wick in some of the levels, and maybe before the difficulty spike, where I was just like, I got the core mechanics down of like when to use a strike versus a parry versus a takedown, when to shoot versus throw your gun. Like some of the times I was making like split second decisions where I'm like, I know where everyone's coming and I know to like take him down. I know to strike, and then maybe I need to walk away and regather my focus, but then I'm going to shoot the person that's coming. Like truly felt like John Wick.
You feel like a boss.
Yeah.
When you tear through a level and you're like, I took out everyone. They didn't stand a chance. Yeah, it feels good.
And I know there's a 5-second mode. I think it's called expedited mode.
God, no.
But essentially it gives you 5 seconds to make your decisions. And honestly, in some of the levels, I felt like I was making like split second, like 1 second decisions. So that mode sounds fun. Maybe I'll play it someday. I probably won't.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. It's like once the gameplay clicks, there's just this sense of like, oh, I get this. Like the game gives you a lot of tutorial. It gives you like a help screen that goes through everything. But I did find it was difficult to grasp. Like I felt like the concept of maneuvering the timeline and what you can do and what this action means and all these things was hard to grasp. But once it clicked, then it felt really, really, really rewarding. Mm-hmm. And even after the difficulty spike later on, once I completed a level, I was like, oh, I got this. Like it was just, even though it was hard, it was like an appropriate challenge because it kind of happened close to the same time that things started to click, that like the difficulty jumped up. So like it was scaled well enough, even though there was a bit of a jump. It felt good. Like this game just felt good, even though it's got some weird jankiness. It just felt really good once you got it.
Yeah, I agree. It's something that you have to play with.
Yes.
Before you get it. You're
not
just like, oh, I
error.
got this right away. Yeah. And you're like, like I said earlier, like even just figuring out like, oh no, I should be shooting more. Like it took me forever to use like the roll effectively. Like the crouch and roll, I barely used that forever because I was like, it takes time for me to crouch. My time is valuable. And then... But then I realized, like, oh no, then they hit me less and I am more accurate. And if they're further away, crouching is a good option. Like, it takes a bit. And then rolling is good, but, like, I still only use it sporadically. I could still optimize my rolling. It does. Yeah, you have to really think about it, for sure.
I think managing focus to me was the thing that took the longest. So you have your health, you have your ammo for your gun, you have your health, which you have 10 units, like, if you don't... there are some like power-ups you can use between levels. So like the default is 10. I think you can get a little bit more. And then there's focus. And really managing your focus, I think, is like the most important part where
it's kind of like things a stamina bar.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. And shooting your gun doesn't take away focus, but pretty much any other action will. So you just have to be careful of like, you know, doing a takedown, which is obviously the most effective move where you do the like classic John Wick, like judo-throw that takes out a lot of enemies, but it knocks your focus meter down. So you can't do it 7 times in a row. But also you expose yourself to other enemies when you do that and they may shoot you. All that to say is there are a lot of layers, even though this looks simple. Once you figure out timelines and when to use what moves, like really managing focus is something that I think is one of the last things that I really understood.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Rolling takes focus too. So it takes 2 bars off your focus.
Yeah,
so
it's a lot.
You might be out of focus and you might be out of health and you might be out of ammo, and that's when you usually hit restart.
Yeah.
Just throw your gun.
Yeah, just throw your gun.
Another thing, I like that with the first gun that you have, the John Wick gun, you can reload it. Mm-hmm. But if you reload it, you are losing the bullets that are still in the chamber, which is a thing that, like, you know, video games have kind of ignored for now. It's like, no, you're adding bullets. You add 10 to your 2 and you have 12. Like, ignore the fact that you have to get rid of those to reload. Another thing, there's a bunch of different guns you can pick up. Mm-hmm. Some of them I was like, mostly the revolver. Because it took a little bit more really?
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't hold that much ammo and it takes a little bit longer to shoot. Yeah,
but it does
takes
more
people
damage.
Out hard. It does. Mm-hmm. Carbine. I saw a carbine I was picking that thing up.
Yeah.
It's accurate. It takes people out. Love it.
And even though like the machine guns were crazy and accurate, I just loved shooting like so many bullets across the screen at the same time. And I'm just like, and then they probably die on the 5th shot anyways. So I just kind of treated it as a like, okay, I'm not expecting to get a lot of like killing out of this. I'll get 2 people to die out of this whole machine gun, but like, sure, why not? You know what I mean? Like, I used it a lot to interrupt what they were going to do, because even though I may not kill them, if they are going to shoot me, if I can't kill them before they shoot me, I might be able to like at least disrupt what they're doing by, you know, machine gunning them, and they might move out of the way and I don't kill them, but it gives me a chance to kind of reset and, you know, reposition myself if I have to.
Yeah,
the Uzi's
fire
terrible
off.
though.
Yeah, the Uzi's not great.
It had like 40% accuracy every time that I used it, and sure, it's gonna shoot 3 or 4 bullets, but like, how many of those are gonna hit one?
Right.
But you're gonna shoot like 5 bullets before they can shoot one. So if you hit them with one, that's another thing that like your strategy had to change depending on which gun you were holding and what was available to you. So I liked that. It's, you know, it's thought out. The game is really thought out, which I appreciate very much. Jacob, you mentioned the expedited mode.
Yeah.
Which is a secondary mode that you can, like you said, you have 5 seconds to do your next action, which I could understand. Travis, did you mess with that at all?
Oh, no. There's no way. I'm so indecisive. There's no way I could do 5 seconds before I have to decide to do. I'd be just running right into the line of fire. There'd be no way I'd survive.
I feel like this is like a PC-only mode, because I can't imagine doing it with a controller. And like you said, trying to like make him do what you want him to do. Yeah. I fired up expedited mode. I did better.
Oh, wow.
Just not thinking. So I guess, I don't know, my lizard brain is smarter than my thinking strategy brain, I guess. I tore through that entire first world. I was like, this is easy. And then, I mean, I ran into a wall like we did in the normal mode.
Yeah.
How was the difficulty spike? How bad?
For me, it was around like the boat one. Was that not it? Was it for you guys? It was the boat level for me, where I was just like, I played that level so many times.
I did just boat level like literally for 3 hours.
Yeah, I didn't understand why, like what I was getting wrong. Like, I think I ended up getting through it because I cheesed an area where I was kind of standing like by a doorway, and I just kept taking down people over and over again as they would come towards me, and I was just in the shadow just enough. I had a massive mound of bodies in front of me because I just kept taking down people until I could get through whatever I needed to get through. I felt like I had to cheese a lot, but then it was shortly after that the game started to click. But that boat level was tough, like really, really, really tough.
I don't know what your strategy was, but for me, like, think that there's 7 levels within every like large world or level, but your health and your items stay consistent throughout, right? So you get 2 bandages, and maybe you can like place bandages within the world, but really, if you really screw up your first level, it's almost worthwhile to just restart, because if you use a bandage basically in the first 3 levels, you might as well restart, because you're probably not going to make it through.
I would hold on to the bandages as long as I possibly could, because it'd be like, if I'm going to sit here and, you know, have 1 health, then I just better be very slow about what I'm going to do next, I guess, because there's no reason to. If I used a bandage in that first level, I was like, nah, like, there's no way. Yep. If I got hit 1 too many times, I was like, nope, restart. Like, it was hard.
And I feel like that was the problem for me in the boat level is I probably made it through the first, 2 or 3 levels a bunch, but I had to use at least 1 bandage to get there. So I'm like, I can't keep going because I'll never beat this world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my stubbornness really came to play while playing this game, where I'm like, oh, I have 2 bars left of health, or 3 bars left of health, and I'm like, I can make it through this level with these 2. I am not healing in this level, damn it. It's not happening. And then I would die.
Yeah.
6, 7, 8 times. And I'm like, no, I'm not healing. Damn it. And then eventually I would cave. But yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, this is really, really showing my stubbornness for sure.
Yeah, and then the rest of the game is like pretty much that level. Like it stays that difficult. You do like a bank heist, or like you have to escape from a bank for like in one, and it puts you in a lot of different scenarios later on. Like it's not like the maps. I did enjoy the fact that like graphically every map looked a little different. Like there was more of a color in this one, and every map felt a little different. It was interesting. But I did feel like the difficulty kept getting higher and higher. But then I felt like it was really easy near the end. Like, I don't know if I just got better at the game.
Yeah,
I
the
felt
last
like
world, yeah.
there was like that hex maze thing near the end, and I was like, this was a cakewalk. That was the end of the game. Like it was easy.
I beat
didn't
Hex
understand.
on the first try.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't find it hard once I got to the end. And I don't know if it's just maybe the game punished you enough early on that you got good enough. But yeah, I didn't find the ending to be nearly as hard as the middle of the game.
I don't know if you guys had a strategy for bosses. I mentioned like Hex really quickly, but I found that they definitely weren't the hardest part of the game either. Really, there was a strategy of like, usually you had to shoot them with a gun, like that's how you beat them. But if you kind of cleared the folks around them and just took them down a bunch, you could just stand right in front of them and shoot them with a gun.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did, because you can't shoot them right. Basically, if their focus bar is full, you can't shoot them. It's like a 0% chance you'll shoot them. So you have to melee them to some degree to bring their focus down, and then your shot percentage basically goes up. And yeah, I would just stand, if I cleared out everyone else, I would just stand next to whichever boss it was and go, take down, pa 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 pa.
Yeah.
Take down, pa 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 pa.
Yeah.
Take down, pa 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 pa. And then I would go, and then just pew pew, and just shoot them over and over again. And then he died. Yeah, the bosses were kind of they were a little underwhelming, which is okay, because like overall I enjoyed the game. Like I wasn't like, oh, this boss was so anticlimactic. Like I didn't really care, because I enjoy the process of the game. But yeah, they were fine. They're there.
Yeah, they're a necessity to get to the next world.
Exactly.
Yes, pretty much.
And you mentioned, Travis, like the look of the world changing all the time. And generally speaking, I liked how the aesthetics of the game. Yeah. It kind of, in between the cutscenes when they're kind of telling the story, it's like a comic book panels. Yeah. Kind of. And there's this voiceover, and it looks really cool. And I liked how each level looked. Like I liked the way that they played with sightlines and how it shadows in and shadows out. And the colors are nice. Like I really like the
colors
look
are fun. It's just like there's like this neoniness, and it's just like, and like when you're in a bar area, like this is a bar, and you can kind of get the vibe of that. This is the boat, this is the bank, and it's just like the way that they use color to make like every level slightly different, even though it is very similar. It's like very blocky, polygonal looking, you know, this is a table. It's also the same thing as a counter, as a chair. Like it all looks very samey. Yep. But by the interesting ways they use like the color to kind of just make it more interesting, it was good. I liked it a lot because of that.
Yeah, each world had like its own colors, whether it was like a lot of greens in this level or a lot of like nice purples and reds. Color was cool.
It was stylized nicely. Yeah. And it kind of hid some of the like, probably, it's not like the most beautiful game, but I think the stylistic choices help make it look better. So you don't have to worry about super, super high def graphics and crap like that I don't really care about. So
this game had style.
Exactly. There's style to it, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe a little janky, but it's stylish.
The music was stylish too.
Yeah, the music was great.
I love the music so much. Yeah. It had like a Western, kind of like a modern Western, like a Tokyo Western feel is what I got.
Yes.
Very good. Bithell had to bring his friends to do music and
he brought a lot of friends. Yes, he brought Austin Wintory, who did the music, because they have a podcast together, Play, Watch, Listen. Great podcast. Love it.
Who else is on that podcast?
Oh, a certain someone that you might know, Jacob. His name is Troy Baker.
Oh.
Tell us about Troy Baker, Jacob.
He's pretty.
He's pretty.
Sorry. Should I go into the Death Stranding conversation again?
Oh no! Yeah,
God.
We covered his prettiness in Death Stranding.
Please review the Death Stranding episode for more on Jacob's obsession with Troy Baker.
It's not an obsession, okay?
Yeah.
He just likes him very, very much.
Yeah. Lance Reddick's also a voice in this game.
Yes. Lance Reddick, Ian McShane, both take up their roles from the movie in the game. Just kind of an impressive get for. I was like, oh, look at you,
Yeah.
Mr. Bithell. You got some people to come on board. And then not Keanu Reeves, unfortunately. He was a little busy, I guess. But yeah, and then Troy Baker plays the titular villain Hex. What's his name? Help me out.
Hex. I think
Hex?
he's only is he referred to as anything else but Hex?
I felt like it was his last name or his first name. I believe you. Because as
Honestly,
we know, me and names, I don't remember names.
Honestly, like the story kind of
just
glossed over a little for me.
Yeah, the story is not, there's not much
I'm like, okay,
there.
so Hex captures these two people that we got voice guest stars for, and then silent Keanu Reeves goes through the levels. But like, and like Hex just keeps throwing like all of these people at John Wick in hopes that John Wick can stop. And like, oh, John Wick has killed every single enemy. Let me send my daughter and hopefully she'll survive.
I'm like, what?
And then
he's mad that she died. I'm like, you did it.
You sent your daughter to your death.
What
like,
did you think was going to happen?
Yeah,
Are
you
you dumb?
kidnapped these guys and then put your daughter in the line of fire, and then you're going to be mad. Like, I was just like, okay, sure. So like the story, it was just kind of like washing over me a little, and I was like, okay, whatever. I don't care about the story all that much.
Although I did enjoy the cutscenes that were
Yeah,
telling
they
the
were
story,
cool.
even though I didn't care about the story. But I was like, oh, it's just like Troy Baker's voice talking about power and how you need to show power and
See, I found
what
it
he's going to
vague.
do to John Wick. Like, it sounded really good, even
Yeah,
though I didn't
story,
care what he was saying.
I embodied Moe, and I was just like, story? Give me guns.
Moe's matured. He's
Yeah.
he's more than just guns
Yes.
now.
Yes, he is. He's more than guns.
Speaking of Moe,
Yes.
what the plan was, Moe played this game. He was going to be on this podcast for life reasons. He couldn't make it.
Schedules.
Schedules. He sent in some questions for us.
Yes.
Okay, so I have 3 questions from Moe. Question number 1. John Wick versus Agent 47 from the Hitman series. Who takes out who and how? Great question, Mo. I really like that. So how
I go first?
Who wins and how do they win? Or even just strategies. What strategies do they take? Yes, Jacob, tell us.
Agent 47 throws a screwdriver at John Wick, the end. No, truly, honestly, I think it's Agent 47 because I think he would like set up a sniper rifle like far away and then figure out John Wick's routine and take him down.
John Wick would be like, I'm going to do kung fu, and then he takes like a sniper bullet in the forehead and it's over.
Yep.
That's fair. Or he slips on a banana peel.
This is hard because, okay, let's talk about if it's in the video game world, okay?
Okay.
Then it's Agent 47 because really, as John Wick in this game, what are you doing? Ducking, crouching, rolling?
Yep.
Agent 47 can
That's true.
actually pick up items in the surrounding area to attack you with it.
Fair.
Like Katie said, John Wick can only throw other guns. So I think he's at a disadvantage if we're talking about janky John Wick, who can also only walk in zigzag patterns. So let's give it to Agent 47.
I think you're both right. I like the idea of John Wick winning just because I like Keanu Reeves better.
Mm-hmm.
But in the video game, yes, Agent 47 wins. Number 2.
Did you answer? Or did you just agree with us?
I pretty much agree with you.
Okay.
I'll say that Agent 47 wins by, I mean, John Wick has to eat eventually, right?
Very
Like
good.
he eats.
Very good.
Agent 47 loves a poison. Maybe like a matcha tea. He poisons like a matcha tea when John Wick's trying to relax at the end of the day. That's how
He
it
goes
happens.
to the Continental, poisons the coin
Yes!
that he uses at the Continental, and it's the end.
Never saw it coming.
Nope.
That's what happens.
Ricin, baby.
All right, question number 2. What future video game would you prefer to get if you could have one of the two? Either Hotline Miami, John Wick Edition, I can't say that, where you play as John Wick in Hotline Miami, or Hitman, Baba Yaga Edition. John Wick's nickname, where you play as John Wick within the Hitman franchise. If you could have one or the other, which would you rather?
I think I would do the Baba Yaga one because like Hotline Miami is kind of, there's this samey vibe here a little bit. Like there's like a neon top down, like it's not as, methodical, but
it's
there is like,
for sure.
It's a fast pace, but there is still a bit of a strategy to like how you're maneuvering through these rooms. So we already kind of got that in this game already. So to give me a more traditional licensed type game with, a John Wick Agent for or like a Hitman kind of style thing, I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, Hotline Miami has like this drug-fueled layer to it that I think like just doesn't fit John Wick. So once IO Interactive is done making a Bond game, I bet want them to make they're making a Bond game next. I want them to make a John Wick game afterwards. Done.
That would be fantastic. That's like the perfect trifecta of murdery games. My God. Would love that. Yeah. Honestly, no, I agree. Hotline Miami is Hotline Miami. It has its own very specific vibe that I don't need John Wick in. Hitman with John Wick, where you're doing more John Wicky things, would be pretty cool. I'm on board. Final question. Question number 3. So this is a little bit more serious, a little bit more about the game. So he felt, for a John Wick game, I didn't feel the chaos, adrenaline, and absurdity, which are so synonymous with the movie. So, who is this game for?
Ooh.
How do we feel about this statement?
I want to argue with Text Mo. Can I argue with Text Mo?
Absolutely.
I think when he talks about the chaos, he's talking about the chaos of being a viewer of a John Wick film, or being an enemy of John Wick, or watching what John Wick is doing.
I think like the pace of a John Wick movie, yeah.
But in my mind, we are living the John Wick experience, which is literally, I see every chess maneuver that's happening, and I know exactly when my enemies are going to do what, and you feel almost like calm as you're being John Wick. So like, that's my take on it. Who's this game for? This game's for like any strategy fan. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't know if I answered this question.
Yeah, but yeah, you imagine
Cop
John
out.
Wick feeling calm, and he's not like, oh my God, this is happening. Like, he's not panicked by what's happening. He's just
Never
like
panicked.
seeing it very quickly. Like, he's just reacting to everything. So
he's
yeah.
Max Payne bullet time the whole time.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Travis.
I see where Mo's coming from, though, because if I were to think, oh, I love the John Wick movies, right? And then I play this game is not a game that I would have assumed would have been geared toward a John Wick fan of those movies, right? And like we talked about this at the beginning, it's a surprising choice for choosing to take some sort of franchise or movie or something and adapting it into this type of game is different and interesting. I like that personally, but I could see where someone who's a big John Wick fan goes to this game and is like, this is not the type of game, because it's not the same type of vibe that like you're getting from watching one of those movies, right? I can see why Mo's saying this, because while, yeah, it totally makes sense, you're getting into the mindset of John Wick. When you are a viewer and then you go to play the game, like you're not really getting into the mindset of John Wick in those movies too much. Like you're kind of watching him do the action, right? And instead, really the most that you get is those replays at the end of the level that might even be somewhat similar, but that's not the same kind of vibe either, right? So I see where he's coming from. I still think I like the choice that they made with this game. I like how they decided to adapt it because it's interesting and it's different, and you don't see this that much. But I totally get where he's coming from, because when I look at this, I would have been like, this is like, I think when Katie suggests, like, do you want to play John Wick Hex? I'm like, that doesn't honestly sound like up my alley until I knew what it was, because my predisposed like idea of what a John Wick game would be is definitely not this, right? Like, at least just in terms of general knowledge of like John Wick, right? So I see both sides of it, but I still like the way this game turned out.
When I think of John Wick, like I think of games like Max Payne 1 and 2.
Yes, exactly.
Or like John Woo's Stranglehold, if you remember that one. Like those are the games. Even like Jet Li's Rise to Honor on PS2. Like that is more the subgenre that I think that this game would normally fit in. But like you, Travis, I love the direction and love the game design in this thing. And like, say that about all Bithell games. Like, I think the Solitaire Conspiracy was like one of my favorite games from like 2 years ago when that came out. So like, that man gets his flowers for almost everything he does. But this game is just, it's great.
I feel like there are different segments of John Wick fans. I feel like there is the group of John Wick fans that lean more towards just action for action and would be like, oh, fall more in like the Fast and the Furious camp. And like I want to see silly action for action's sake. And I feel like there's a segment of John Wick fans that are like, no, I like a slightly more thoughtful action movie. And it's probably for them more so than, like you said, than like the Fast and the Furious type, who are like, no, I want to go shoot McShoot, and I want to be fast, and I want to run around and just shoot things as fast as I can. Not that they do that in Fast and Furious, but the vibe.
Yeah,
the vibe is what I mean. The shooting McShoots. So yeah, I think it's for them. I do understand his thing of like there isn't enough chaos, which is kind of like what I said earlier. Like I would like more variety in what you can do. If I could pick random things up and throw things at people, or pick up like I don't know, it's cliched, but like a pool cue stick and like whap people around, and that's my melee weapon for a little bit until I throw it at somebody, shield. And now my melee weapon's gone. Like,
if you could human shield people, like that would be
would be awesome,
right?
That's
like,
the thing.
Yeah, there's options. Yeah,
I wish that it was just a little bit more developed, and then I would really champion this game. I really like it, and I enjoyed my time. And like we've said, I like the path that we took in adapting a John Wick movie into a game. And it's creative, which I always appreciate that. Just take the path less traveled, and it will be more interesting than the thing that we've seen a million times. Mm-hmm. So I get what he's saying, but I like it. And this game is for me. I like strategy games. I like thoughtful strategy games that I have to piece together and puzzle out what I'm going to do and try and figure out the best way to do it. So I don't know. It's for me, I guess.
I'm usually very much like team make new things.
Yes.
But I think recently this is the game where I'm like, oh, I want a sequel to John Wick Hex.
Oh my God, so much. Yes.
Just think it doubles the main core mechanics of we've said a few of them here, human shield, or pick up item off the ground. Like
if you're hidden behind a bar and you grab a glass and you whip that glass, that
yes,
just logically
if I can
makes
crouch
sense.
Behind
you would do
something.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Use your crouch and then be able to do things around the crouch as opposed to just either shoot or roll or stand up. Just like more options would kind of add to
imagine if you
things
could climb, if there was verticality within levels and you could just grab a ledge Hitman,
but it takes a lot of time. But
Yep.
it's you can climb up to that next level, but you're gonna be dangling there for a little bit and people can shoot you. Yeah,
or even
absolutely.
a slide across a counter kind of thing, to get from one side to a counter to another, sliding across a counter, parkouring a little bit more, having more motion. Yeah. Right, I think would just be more interesting.
Even that move where you roll over their back to get to the other side of them.
Yeah,
that's the stuff I want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing. So the core gameplay, love the concept. I want more, but again,
a little rough around
really
the edges.
Yeah. Any other final impressions? Any other things that we want to say?
I think that was we kind of wrapped it up. Mo's last question was a good way to give us our final thoughts, I think.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the boy did good. I will finish off with just some reviews from the press. We've got one from Dual Shockers. They scored it an 85 out of 100. They said John Wick Hex is a nice, fun, and stylistic bite-sized adventure that's absolutely worth your time. Yeah. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. IGN, 6.8 out of 10. They said John Wick Hex is a simple, smart tactics game, but its distracting lack of polish often thwarts its attempts to distill the fast action of the movies into deliberate gameplay. And finally, Destructoid gives it an 8 out of 10. They said it's not a perfect game, but John Wick Hex still lives up to its premise and creates a new blueprint for how to adapt a film properly. Hopefully it does well enough for a sequel, because I'm dying to step back into the shoes of John Wick. I feel like these 3 reviews sum up our thoughts.
Yeah,
pretty well.
very well.
We're going to wrap up. Travis, where can the good people find you?
I am on Twitter at Travis Colenutt. It's pretty much the only place I am.
Do you have another podcast?
Oh, yeah, I guess I do.
I thought you might have had another podcast.
Maybe. I am on Cutscenes, a video game movie podcast with these two lovely folks here with me today. It's a
Who,
it's
us?
who you? It's a fun podcast where we kind of review video game movies and TV adaptations. I mean, they're not all great, but some of them are fine, and we have a good time doing it. So yeah, check it out. We do it seasonally, so I'm not sure when we're going to get around to the next season, but hopefully sometime soon.
Okay, very good. And you can find all things Left Behind Game Club at leftbehindgame.club. We are on Twitter at Left Behind Club, on Instagram at Left Behind Game Club, and you can join our Discord, which is what, Jacob? Is it where all the cool people are?
It's where all the cool folks are. We're talking about games, video game deals, visual novels. So if that's your thing, leftbehindgame.club/Discord. Jump on in. Let's have a combo. Let's have a convo. Who am I?
That's the narkiest thing I've ever heard. Hey, kids.
Yeah.
Let's have a
Hey,
convo.
fellow kids.
Do you like
Let's have
visual
a chat.
novels? I like visual novels too.
I'm definitely a high schooler.
I hear the kids
Absolutely.
like anime. Tell me more about anime. God.
If you enjoyed this show somehow, please do us two favors. You can send it to a friend. That's how people find podcasts. They get their friends, they recommend them things, they then listen to it, and then they enjoy it. So send it to a friend, and please give us a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. Just a 5. Nothing
If
less,
you're thinking
please.
about 4, don't do it.
Don't do it. 5s across the board.
5s only, please.
Yes. Jacob, where can the fine folks find you?
You can find me at Jacob McCourt on all major social media platforms, JACOBMCCOURT. Twitter and TikTok. Twitter is my stream of consciousness. TikTok is where I've been putting daily gaming content. So if you like this podcast, I think you'll like my TikTok. And then by now, I will have done my first panel at PAX. So that will be available for you to watch on Twitch. I will have shared details on Twitter. So if you're interested in video game trivia, find me on Twitter. Again, Jacob McCourt. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'm so excited for that PAX panel. I'm already proud of you. It's going to be great. Exciting. I am on Twitter. I am at Lesperak, Lesperak. I ramble about things I like for the most part. Right now, mainly Monkey Island. It's coming. I'm excited. Let's go. That's about it. I'm on Twitter. That's the only place. Shout out Mike Ruffalo. And that, my friends, is one less game left behind. Welcome to the Left Behind Game Club, our never-ending
Focus face.
never-ending attempt is difficult.
Yes, it's a tongue twister.
It is.
Little.
Blah, blah, blah.